To the channel, guys. My name is Gene Edwards. I'm with my good buddy Sam Jackson for this special Thursday night edition of NHL Aftermath for August the 17th, episode number 12. Sammy, you are back in the lovely province of Alberta once again, and I am being smoked out in Smokanogan right now as the air quality, those of you that don't know, is at about 11 right now, and it's not very pleasant right now. How was your trip back there, Sammy?
Trip back out here was beautiful. It was nice, bright and sunny the whole way out, which is contrast to when I drove out to Kelowna. It was very smoky the entire drive. This time it was pretty nice up until about Revelstoke, which there was a fire around there, so it was smoky. But other than that, the rest of the drive was beautiful, and it was a nice drive.
Right on, right on. Good to hear. Good that you got back safely and everything. I was actually kind of surprised going into this week there, Sammy, with only 4 days since we did our little outdoor thing. And by the way, I want to just acknowledge why we were so pixelated. I'm kind of on a crappy cell phone provider right now, and for whatever reason, my phone works better on 3G. So when I was tethering off my phone, it was tethering off of 3G, and that's why I was all pixelated on the graphics. Other than that, it was a pretty good episode. Good camaraderie. It was awesome at Bentley Park. Beautiful background. It was great. I just wish that pixelation. What is an episode without a couple hiccups, though, Sammy? I think that's just par for the course, is it not?
Yeah, pretty used to it at this point. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about a few things today. I wouldn't say sudden passing. I mean, he was 86 years old, but Bobby Baun, known for Toronto heroics back in 1964, he passed away at the age of 86 this week. Also, EA Sports has named the NHL cover athlete. Are you aware of that news yet, Sammy? Yeah,
Sure.
I think it's pretty wide known now. Cale Makar going to be donning that cover. And we're going to break down our Metro division at the end of the episode. And there was one other topic I wanted to talk about, and I forgot what it is. I guess I'll roll into it when it comes. One thing I do want to also mention that I never had time to do a graphic for, but it sounds like Jonathan Toews is going to take another year off. That's it. His career's done. I think we're not going to see Jonathan Toews anymore. I think that's definitely a foregone conclusion, I would think. What are your thoughts? Do you think you're going to see him again?
I mean, I'd be surprised. I mean, maybe he takes a year off and he feels, maybe he does feel good in a year to come back and, have a third line role on a contending team, maybe like a Toronto or an Edmonton or something like that. He feels healthy enough to maybe take league minimum, slot in a third line, maybe even a fourth line center role. I think I could see that maybe happening, but his days as a top six guy, I think, are well behind him.
I think that's
if he were to come back, I'd say bottom six.
Well, probably. I think he would be bottom six presently. Now you take another year off, your conditioning gone for a year, and that I don't know. I think that's it.
I doubt his conditioning is going to take much of a hit because I bet he's still going to get out there and skate and maybe practice a bit, but on his own, obviously, because he isn't going to be practicing with the team, but at least practicing on his own or whatever. But yeah.
Well, I'll just say it this way. If I was a betting man, I bet that we've seen the last of him.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Let's get into the Bobby Baun story here. Now, oops. There we go. Now, Bobby Baun, he's no one historically, and I remember seeing early clips of like on NHL videos and classic things that we saw. And I remember always watching this one video of Bobby Bond taking a Gordie Howe slap shot off the leg, blocking the shot, busting his leg in the third period, getting it taped up and bandaged, going into the overtime of game 6 there, winning that, scoring the game winning goal to take them to game 7, which ended up getting them the Stanley Cup. He's one of those pioneers when it comes to those players that like the Bergerons and like what we saw out of Leon Draisaitl a few years ago, and same with Darnell Nurse with the torn core muscle. He and who's the one goalie that took the puck in the face? But those guys, I think, set the tone of tolerance way back in the early 1900s, and we see it in today's game. I think those guys are the pioneers of tolerance, if you will. Does that make any sense, Sammy?
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, it's guys like that, and even you can look at, I think, guys like Stan Mikita, even Bobby Orr took quite a beating in his time. What was the Swedish player that just passed from the Leafs as well a little while ago?
Boring sounding.
Thank you. Yeah, Boris Salming. His name skipped my head for a second. But guys like that who just were tough. They didn't let anything really get them out of the lineup. Like, Bobby Orr played on a broken knee basically for years, but he just didn't let him get it down until it came to the point where he just couldn't play anymore. And then, you look at guys like Bergeron, who played a number of years back in the Stanley Cup final with like a punctured lung, broken ribs, broken ankle. We just saw just came out the other day that Mark Stone in this Stanley Cup final with Vegas and Florida this year that he broke his wrist in the first period of game 5. And he just went into the locker room after the period was over, took a bunch of pain meds, and just kept taking meds and drugs and probably some steroids or whatever just to keep us from not being, or morphine or whatever, to not feel his wrist so that he can go out there and play the game. And he scores a hat trick, and is able to lift the cup afterwards. He said he was screaming in pain. He was screaming in pain, but he didn't care. He was like, I might never get this chance again. Yeah. And with him, his health too, he might not. So,
because he does have he's had several operations on his back, from what I understand. You guys, on the graphic, you notice there, due to copyright laws and all that, I couldn't play the video. I really wanted to play the video, but there is a QR code on this graphic here that will take you to the YouTube page of this story behind Bobby Bond and how he had that third period goal. So check it out. It's worth a watch. I know, like this, he's even before my time, and I'm freaking ancient. But yeah, he's before my time. And I tell you what, this is so inspiring watching this. So give it a check out. Very amazing. Can't say enough. I mean, he did live a good full life, though. He passes away at the age of 86. So all my best to the family and to the Toronto Maple Leafs regarding that. But yeah, wow, what a legend. Okay, Sammy, let's get into this was the one that I couldn't remember. Petrie getting traded back, or getting traded to the Montreal Canadiens 2 weeks ago, and now has been dealt to the Detroit Red Wings. This I definitely saw coming. I didn't think that he was gonna be I really didn't think he was gonna play a game with Montreal this year, because I think he had kind of a bit of a falling out. I think we discussed this last week, did we not?
Yeah, a little bit.
So yeah, I saw this happening. What was the trade? So the trade includes Gustav Lindstrom. You're gonna have to correct my pronunciation again, so be on my pronunciation police here. Conditional 4th round pick in 2025. That's going back to Montreal. And Jeff Petrie will be going to the Wings with 50% retained salary. So not really a big trade, but it's one of those trades that does stand out because he was traded a year ago from Montreal to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh traded him back to get Carlson. They traded him back to Montreal. And I knew it. I knew he wasn't going to stay long term on that. Your thoughts, Sammy?
Yeah, I didn't expect him to stay really Montreal long either, if at all. And so him on his way to Detroit, I mean, I think it's a good pickup for Detroit. It's just another guy on their back end to help solidify their back end, help solidify their defense. I like the trade for Detroit, I think, in general, and, also being Montreal retaining 50% of the salary. I think Detroit's going to be pretty. I don't know if they'll be a playoff team next year, but I think they're going to be darn close. I think they're going to be darn close.
I don't know about darn close because you're talking about the Metro and the Atlantic there, and the Metro is lethal. As we're going to get into that shortly.
Yeah, but again, with the Atlantic, how's Boston going to do? I looked at their center depth.
True.
And they're with Krejci gone. That's another thing from this last week that happened. Krejci announced his retirement too.
Yeah.
Their top center right now was Charlie Coyle, and he's not a first line center.
No.
So their center depth is spotty, and so Boston still all around is a decent team, and I think them maybe being looked as an underdog might help them more than being like record setting, but we'll see. I think Detroit, that there's an opportunity for Buffalo or Detroit to step in over, or Ottawa to step in over Boston, I'd say.
But I know one thing with the history of the Bruins, they always find a way. The management always seem to find a way to get those players. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if it's players just want to have that B on their chest. Don't know what that story is, but they always get the players. They always manage. They're a top-notch organization when it comes to that. So anyway, enough about Jeff Petrie. We are going to move on to the NHL 24 cover athlete, who is Cale Makar, which kind of surprises me that Nathan MacKinnon has not even donned this cover yet. But he will don the NHL 24 cover. I'm okay with it. He is, in my opinion, the most elite defenseman since, I'd even say surpassing Paul Coffey. I would say like right up there with Bobby Orr. Like, I'm giving him high praise. Like, he is an amazing, amazing athlete. And what he can do and how he can open up the ice for the likes of McKinnon and Landeskog when he was playing. Oh, he's an amazing athlete. So I have absolutely no problem with him donning the cover of this. Can't wait to get into the game. I was watching a little bit of the some of the things that they're going to put in. They're putting goalie fatigue into this game, which is pretty cool. They are doing actually player fatigue even. There's going to be like, if you're hemming them in the zone long enough, there's more likely for mistakes to happen. They're really upping up the game on this one. I think this is going to be a damn good game. I can't wait to get my mitts on it. You?
Yeah, I mean, for the last number of years, it's just gotten to a point where when EA is releasing their trailer for NHL, their new NHL game, I'm kind of like, nah. Because, like, I played the games all growing up, but since the switch, from when they came over from, like, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 to the Xbox One and PS4, the games have sucked since then, to be completely honest. I've played all of them, and I've thought they've all been terrible since then.
Really?
The controls have not been great. They've been extremely glitchy. Like, the facial profiles have been... It's just... There's a lot of things that have been so bad. And the tripping calls, for the love of all that is holy, you can't poke check without getting a tripping call. Like, it's horrendous. And with NHL 23, they were like, oh yeah, we fixed the animation, so the swinging your stick is slower, and so the chances of getting a tripping call is significantly less. It's not. Every time maybe I'm just bad at the game, but I think I'm pretty decent at it. Anytime I poke check, I still get a friggin' tripping call. Unbelievable. But with NHL 24, I agree with you. I watched the reveal trailer the other day of it, and I was actually impressed. Like you said, with the things that they're adding, like you said, with the goalie fatigue, the hemming in the zone, different, they're having a more advanced kind of hitting system and checking system, and, some new deeks and moves and stuff like that.
They're bringing the breaking the glass feature and hitting over the boards,
which they had back in the day. Yeah. I put thousands of hours specifically into NHL 13, which had Claude Giroux on the cover. I put thousands of hours in that game. I played that game for years. Thousands of hours in that game. You could charge the goalie in that game. You could run the goalie over. You can break the glass. You can knock guys into the bench. Like, that game was fantastic. And when I look at like the pinnacle of NHL games, I look at the NHL 13, NHL 14 were both just like top notch games. Whereas now they've been terrible. Like, I still play the crap out of them because I love hockey, and so I like video games, so I play them a ton. But for the most part, I just play because I like hockey, but I don't even enjoy the games that much because they're so bad.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get my hopes up for NHL 24. I'm not going to say I have high hopes for it, but I have hopes for it to be at least be better and at least tolerable to play.
So for me, I actually find it tolerable to play, but I do find a lot of, so what they always seem to do is every year, like you said, a little tap and it's trip, and you can't even do the poke check. Then they send these upgrades, and then basically it's rinse and repeat, and it turns into the game from the previous 8 years, right?
With an $80 roster update.
Yeah. So I get you on that point. But I still play it regularly. I'm going to be playing it tonight probably for a little bit when we're done this. But I mean, it's good, but I really want to see this game really step it up, and I really think they will step it up this time. I think the first one I bought was NHL 94. Okay?
The classic.
The classic. And you'd check Gretzky and a pool of blood would come from his head, right? Like, it was a really very daunting graphic that I think definitely Gary Bettman does not want to have in the league anymore. He probably kiboshed that. No way, we're not putting blood coming from. I bet you it was him saying that. That being said, you still see significant them like rolling on the ice, holding their knee or holding their head. But yeah, I remember that. And I remember, I think it was the NHL 95 when they actually put logos on the ice and how excited I was just for that. And now I look at the technology now, and I don't know, I would say from about probably the 2000s till 2015, I probably took a 15-year hiatus where I wasn't even playing that video game at all. And then I started it up in 2015. I think it was the Tarasenko covers when I started playing it up again. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's fun. Anyway, enough about video games. Let's move on to our Metro predictions there, Mr. Sammy. This is, I don't. You're gonna laugh at some of the ones I picked here. You might laugh, but we'll see here. We'll see what happens. Who do you got in 8th place coming out of this Metro Division this year?
In 8th place, we probably have the same team in 8th. Maybe not, but I would assume we have the same team in 8th. I have the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, me too. I definitely have the Philadelphia Flyers too. They just haven't done nothing to improve the team. And to be honest with you, I think Tortorella, if things still go as south as we plan it, I don't think Tortorella will be coaching that team at the end of the season. I think they'll part ways.
Well, I don't know if they would want to part ways though, just because like they're so bad and they know they're going to be bad. What's the point? Like, I'm John Tortorella last year. I'm just saying he managed to squeeze out wins out of that team last year, more wins than they should have had. So we'll see. We'll see.
History has always proven that the coach is the fall guy, right?
Yeah. I mean, true.
Who do you got in 7th, Sammy?
I have the Washington Capitals.
Okay. I have the New York Islanders in 7th. I don't think this is a team that's done enough for improving. Unless I'm missing something, fill me in on something. But right now, I don't think they've done enough.
I agree.
And I have the Washington Capitals in 6th. And basically, it's just a team that's getting older and older. You know, I think we're still going to see Ovi doing what he does, but yeah, the team is just getting older. You might have an inspired Wilson now that he got that big deal, but yeah, I can't really say too much about that. Who do you have in 6th, Sammy?
I have the Columbus Blue Jackets in 6th place.
See, that's okay. I'll get into that in a bit. Yeah, I
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually ranked him up a couple spots higher, and I'll explain to you in a bit here. Um, okay, good for that. For my fifth, I got the Rangers. Um,
Rangers in fifth, eh?
yeah, but it's like I say, this fourth, fifth, and sixth to me is a crapshoot. I honestly don't really even third, fourth, fifth, and sixth is a bit of a crapshoot. I could be I don't know, man. I couldn't think it out. So
All right.
I think Shesterkin is going to have a bounce back year. If so, they might rank very high. Um, but I don't know. Just something's telling me. I don't know.
So do you have the Rangers missing the playoffs then in fifth?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I have the Rangers missing the playoffs this year.
All right. Very interesting.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I know. Okay, who do you got in fifth there, Sammy?
I have the other New York team. I have the New York Islanders at
Okay.
fifth. I think both them and the Blue Jackets are going to hover around that 90-point mark.
Okay.
But that's not good enough to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay. So for my fourth, I got the Blue Jackets. And why did I place them so high? I know you're thinking, holy crap, Gene, you are so out to lunch.
Well, not really. I mean, definitely higher than I would have placed them, but
I think Babcock's learned a lesson from what happened in Toronto. So I think he's going to come across more milder. But he still
yeah.
is a big factor as a head coach, okay? I think he's going to take a different approach. I think some of that's going to linger back at times throughout the season where he'll piss off Johnny Gaudreau. He might piss off Patrick Laine. But I think he's going to be a much more milder, he's had 3 years to sit on it and ponder. So I think he's going to be really, really, ready to make a presence. And this Adam Fantilli, man, I have such a good feeling about him. Plus the fact that they got who did they get on the blue line? Didn't they get?
They got Provorov and Damon Severson.
Yes. So
And
they have.
Werenski back from injury.
Yes. So I like where the Blue Jacks are heading. So I got them in fourth. You?
I have the Penguins.
Penguins in fourth. Okay.
I think
I
as
don't.
well, like, they missed the playoffs last year, sure, but again, they picked up Carlson. I also like the addition of Riley Smith. I think that's good.
Mhm.
Good pickup for them as well. I don't think they're going to be like necessarily astronomically better than they were last year, but I think they're going to be a very competitive and a very good team still nonetheless this year.
And I have them in third for the exact same reasons. I think they will make the playoffs. They were just one loss, one loss to Chicago that
The
got
Blackhawks.
yeah, they got Florida to go to the dance last year. So
Yeah.
yeah, and for the same reasons, Carlson, they're definitely upgraded. Yes, they are still old, but I do have them in third. Your second, I know who your second is. I'm going to predict it.
You mean my third? My third?
Oh, your third. Yes. Okay.
I
Your
was just
third.
going to say, though, just when you're talking about the Penguins losing that game, I didn't even realize how close Buffalo was. Side note, how close Buffalo was to making the playoffs. They're 1 point behind Florida.
Yeah.
If Buffalo won one more game, they would have beat out Florida for a playoff spot, which is crazy to me. So anyway, that's a
And
side note.
Buffalo. Well, it'll be interesting when we do our whatchamacallit,
The
that
Atlantic,
division. Yeah, the
yeah,
Atlantic division. That'll be
that
interesting.
one I don't know about the Atlantic.
Yeah.
So other than Toronto, I think in first it's a crapshoot after that. Anyway, third place I have the Rangers.
Okay. Well, you
Yeah.
got them pretty high. I don't have that much faith. I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
it's Igor Shesterkin. I wouldn't bet against him at all. Like, we've seen what goalies individually can do, and the Rangers still overall are a very, very solid team.
Hmm.
Like, very solid team. Like, still have a blue line consisting of Adam Fox, previous North Trophy winner, and Jacob Trouba, who's a very good, very solid defenseman. And then you still have, forward core of Zibanejad, Kreider, maybe Kako can step up this year, Lafreniere. Like, they still have a very, very, very good and a very deep team. I would
And
be
they always
surprised
do,
to see
Sammy.
them.
They always have a good team, and they always just somehow just I don't know. I don't
There,
know.
I mean, there were a few years there where they kind of they rebuilded, right? Like they missed the playoffs, they won the draft lottery, a couple times,
Mhm.
and got rebuilt their team very quickly, and now they're back up to being one of the better teams, top 10 team in the NHL. I still think they're a fantastic team now. Again, a couple years they weren't, but I'd be shocked if they fell out of the playoffs. Shocked.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to see what happens in April.
Yep.
Okay, so that was your third.
Yep.
I know who you got for second, and I think we're actually opposite on this. I'm going to take
Maybe.
Carolina in second.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to take Carolina in second, and I just and it's no fault to Carolina. They're going to be. This is another toss up for me. They're going to be amazing. They added Orlov. I mean, their defense is like you said a few weeks ago, just lights out, like crazy good.
Yeah.
Um, but I like what New Jersey's doing. That's why I got them in first. I like the fact that they added to Foley. I think
Yeah.
that's going to be huge for them. And they're just so young. And Jack Hughes is coming around. Like this team looks really good. You're second and you're first, Sammy.
Second, like you said, we kind of 7 swapped. Second place at the New Jersey Devils, and the first place at the Carolina Hurricanes. Again, probably interchangeable. Very similar to kind of like what you said. Um, I think the Rangers, or sorry, not the Rangers. What am I talking about? The Devils. They, I don't know. With them picking up Tyler Toffoli, when I saw that, I was like, oh no, like that's an incredible pickup for that team. And like I'm a big Tyler Toffoli fan. I always have been. I hated the LA Kings when I was younger because of their rivalry with the Canucks. But I always liked Toffoli. So when Vancouver added him a few years ago, I was ecstatic. And then Jim Benning's a moron and decided not to even offer him a contract. But that's a story for another day. Um, I'm not salty about it at all. Can't you tell? Anyway, I was and I like the Devils too, and so I was very excited to see. I mean, I like Calgary as well, but I really like the Devils, and I was excited to see him go there. I think New Jersey, they were already an exciting team to watch last year. I think they're going to be an even more exciting team to watch this year. And if they do take first place over the Hurricanes, I wouldn't be surprised. But I still just think Carolina just has more experience to be able to get through those tougher times. And Rod Brindamore, don't bet against Rod Brindamore as a coach to be able to
Mhm.
speak out points and wins out of a team that probably shouldn't. What's like the big, I wouldn't say big question mark, but the only question mark I really have with the Hurricanes roster is their goaltending. Kind of with New Jersey, their goaltending. Maybe Akira Schmid, I think, is going to be fantastic for New Jersey this year. But Carolina, you got Anderson, Ronta, and Kachetkov as like this three-string rotation that I don't know how that's going to work. But I mean, it's better to have one too many goalies than not enough goalies, I guess. And like you said, overall, Dmitry Orlov on that team, just I mean, they picked up Tony DeAngelo. I guess that's a good thing. Like,
Yeah, that might be the
we'll
bad.
see.
That might be the bad thing.
Yeah, we'll
But
see. But
he'll be. I think
overall,
he'll be.
the Hurricanes,
Sorry.
Hurricanes top to bottom are an incredible team, and I think they have more. They have more. Well, I don't think they do. They have more experience than the Devils do, because like you said, the Devils are a lot younger. The Hurricanes over the last 5 years that they've actually been a contender have made some deep runs. They've been able to go through some of that adversity that a younger team has, like the Devils are maybe experiencing now. Carolina's gone through that. I think Carolina's in a very good place now. I think to go, they're in the best place they have been since they won the cup to go for the cup now. I think.
Yeah, and I think D'Angelo will be put in his place too. I wanted to mention that too. I mean,
Yeah,
I
Brendan
don't,
Moore doesn't put up with crap.
that shit won't fly in his locker room for sure.
No, not at all.
Okay, Sammy, that, my friend, is episode 12, I believe. 12 or 11? 12.
Yeah, well,
All right, Sammy. We will be back in 10 days, I guess, from now
yep, next Saturday.
for episode 13, where we're going to discuss the Central Division. We're going to get
Yeah,
that one. And then the following next one, we'll probably wrap up the Eastern Conference when we do the Atlantic, and then we'll do our favorite division, the Pacific, in a few weeks from now. Why don't you send everyone off on their way? By the way, guys, we noticed that our view counts are starting to increase. Keep it up. Join us in on these conversations. We will post your comments or questions live during the broadcast. We will make some time for you. We'd love to hear from your guys' thoughts. We'd like to be told that we're out to lunch at sometimes. Whatever. Keep it clean, though. That's all we ask. Sammy, send us on our way, man.
Well, in a couple weeks, I'll annoy you, Gene, when it's the Pacific Division time, because I'm going to wear a Flames jersey just for you.
You would. I'll wear my Oiler jersey. Don't you kid yourself.
I don't care. Anyway, yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, watching. Like my buddy Gene said, we're seeing the views go up, which makes us excited, makes us more motivated to do these. So we thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit like, click subscribe, comment down below your opinions. Like Gene said, we'd love to hear your thoughts, your opinions. We can talk about it. We can acknowledge your thoughts as well and make this a little more of a discussion rather than just us talking. We do love talking, but we'd also love for this to be a discussion. So again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you in 10 days, guys. Have a good one.